Hi everybody, Mike with Enviroscape LA, and we're about 90% done here. Not a little bit more than 90% done. This is a backyard Manhattan Beach. This used to be a lawn, just a big lawn. Come to find out that in Southern California, actually all of California is experiencing this epic drought. It's bad. It's beyond bad. It's a disaster. I don't know what kind of adjectives I can give you other than to say that it's so bad that how we live as a society, we're shifting. And one of the things that's shifting is the way we landscape. And landscape industry, what we call the green industry, is a $1 trillion industry here in the United States. Interesting thing though is that we can do something, especially with landscaping. The figures are out that as of right now, Southern California, actually, this is just beyond Southern California, we use about 65% of water, of 100% of water that comes into your house, about 65% of that is used for landscaping. So what I want to do is introduce you to something called sustainable landscaping. And what sustainability is, it's living today without borrowing from tomorrow. So it's about our kids, it's about future generations. So the way we landscape today is going to affect future generations. So let's just remember that. Now, how we do sustainable landscaping, part of a sustainable landscaping is using climate appropriate plants. In other words, if we live in Oregon where it rains a lot, guess what? You should probably grow lawn. That's right, you should probably grow grass. But if you live in a desert like Southern California, we're actually living in a desert, you need to use climate appropriate plants, and grass is not climate appropriate. So these plants right here, designed by Mimi Anderson of Garden Magic Company, this whole design was, what she did was she used climate appropriate plants. We're actually the implementation of that, so we figure out the drip irrigation, because with drip irrigation you save over 60% of water over regular sprinkler heads. Also, something that's in the design of this orange looking earth here is called DG, or Decomposed Granite. So it's great, it's porous, when the rain happens it goes right through, but it's as hard as concrete. We amended the soil, and then we also put drought tolerant plants. Now, interesting plant, this particular one right here, it's called the ceanothus. Once it gets established, actually, I don't think it likes water. Once it gets established, it's extremely drought tolerant. It has a pretty blue flower, but it's very climate appropriate to the Los Angeles area. Loves Los Angeles, dislikes water. It's like your perfect plant. And we have other plantings here. And then you notice that we have the Rainbird subsurface drip irrigation. Actually goes under the ground. Or under the mulch in this case. We're not finished planting here, we're actually going to plant these flats over the drip irrigation, and they'll get watered from underneath. So the whole goal of irrigation is to irrigate the root zone, not the air, not everything else. And so this is going to be underground drip irrigation. We're going to plant this grass substitute called Diamondia on it, and it's a great lawn substitute. You don't need to mow it, don't need to cut it. It just looks good, and it stays small and compact next to the ground. It's a fabulous product. So I did mention the Rainbird drip irrigation. Now the reason I use Rainbird is Rainbird does one thing, and they do it really well. They do irrigation, but water conservation irrigation. But they do something different no other company's done. One of the problems with drip irrigation in the past is drip irrigation has a tiny little hole that the water comes through. If that hole ever gets plugged up by a plant root and it expands, it will render your drip irrigation useless. If water can't exit, it's no good. So what they've done is they've actually installed every 12 inches a little piece of copper. It's a copper strip, and what that does is it creates negative ions that chase root. It prevents root intrusion. A little bit of acid on the copper burns any root tips that try to go in. So guess what? It is maintenance free from that aspect, where you don't have to go down, dig your garden up and pull roots out. It just does it automatically. I'll go as far as to say it's the only drip irrigation, sustainable drip irrigation on the market. And speaking of drip irrigation, I wanted to show you over here we have Louis who's doing the. This is what I would call a very clean installation. Oh, Louis, get over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Just making a quick YouTube video here. But you want to explain to us what's going on with the drip irrigation, the filters, and so on?
Okay, in this particular landscape, we have 6 different zones, and the reason for that is different microclimates. There's some different shade areas, some really sunny areas, different water requirements per plant. So we have 6 zones. You notice we have 6 filters as well, but we do have different types of valves. The 3 on this side, those are our low flow valves. So we know that through that system, we're going to be pushing a very small amount of water per minute. On these larger ones, we know that we're pushing anywhere from 3 to 5 gallons per minute. On the smaller ones, below that. So it's really important that not only do you size your filters appropriately, but also your valves. So doing this will ensure years and years of satisfied water usage and very, very low maintenance when it comes to your drip system. As well as we have a Rainbird clock here. I'm about to program that, wire that up. And we have the proper clean outs, proper ARVs installed throughout the landscape as well.
Okay, and can you open one of those up for us?
Sure, let me find one that's not open.
Oh, no, I mean...
There we go. Well, I currently have a valve on it. This one, it's just a Y filter in here with the screen. It's also a pressure regulator as well. So I know that I'm reducing everything down here to 30 PSI. I know that we're running 0.6 gallons per hour, 12-inch intervals. I know I get about 350 linear feet off of one of these guys here. So once a year, you'll wash this filter out and put it back on. Very simple operation.
And one of the big questions that comes up from time to time is, oh, how do you fertilize this type of system? I mean, do you just throw pellets? Because, you know, with an overhead spray, like the way we used to irrigate years ago, 20 years ago, it'd spray everything, sprinkle everything, just dissolve the sprinkler. How do you fertilize, or what's the most effective way to fertilize where you have no waste, no runoff? Lou, what's in this box?
This is our fertigation unit. And what a fertigation unit does is every time we're irrigating, we're also fertilizing. So in this tank is housed about 1.5 gallons of fertilizer in here. I'll pull this guy out. And if you see that blue tint coming through, I'll open it up real briefly. That is actually fertilizer going to the plants every time we irrigate. So these systems are employed at places like Las Vegas and the Rose Bowl and things like that. So that blue tint indicates we're actually fertilizing right now as we're irrigating. So another way that we can ensure years of satisfied plant growth.
Thank you. And goes back in a little box like that. Thank you, Lou. So, okay, and so as you can see here, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when somebody mentioned a dry landscape, you would think it was like driving through Arizona. Everybody has 2 pieces of cactus and this big clunky chunky gravel, and it's like, oh, it's just like, you know, you could never see yourself coming out there. Well, one of the nice things about this landscape is the homeowners really are going to expect to entertain, and they are going to expect to use this as an outdoor living room. So there was a fire pit that was built around the DG over there. That's actually going to be a hanging out area. And then this over here is going to be the garden that's going to attract the birds and the butterflies and the hummingbirds. So it's a great, great system. The whole design here, it just flows. Now, if you decided you just wanted gravel and cactus, well, hey, that's fine too. But life can be so much more interesting. So just wanted to give you some tips or some ideas to show you this is what happens in a sustainable landscape, that it doesn't have to be boring, it can be absolutely amazing. And I just heard a valve go on that tells me the drip irrigation is working. It's a fabulous product. We love it. For more information, you can contact me, look at my website, enviroscapela.com. And I'd like to just mention that when you think sustainability, think Enviroscape LA.